Good afternoon and welcome. Viewers, this afternoon on Pertinent Questions, our one-on-one interview program here on Western Spring Television. I bring you a young lady I want to describe as a pride to womanhood. Pride because she may be young, but when you listen to her and I tell you the things she has done for herself and for her nation, then you will come to terms with me that she is a pride to this country. Before we get to her, the environment is our common heritage as people who live in it. It is to serve all of us, entire humanity, simultaneously and throughout our individual existence here on earth. How do we sustain the environment as a people? In the studio with me is a lady from the Department of Environmental Education, Osun State University, Ikwetu Ijesha Campo. As I said earlier, she might look to you a very young lady, but the number of conferences she has attended all over the world makes her, as an environmentalist, makes her very knowledgeable in the field, and so very necessary for us to bring her on this, our 45-minute weekly show on TV. Mrs. Binta Moustapha is a lecturer and a Ph.D. student in Osun State University in the Department of Environmental Education. Good afternoon, madam. And how do you feel today?
I feel very honored. Thank you. It's a very timely. Yesterday was International Women's Day, so
okay.
Yeah, I like the introduction.
Okay. I almost forgot that too. It's Women's World, and then another few days' time it will be Women's. Keep on being celebrated. Let me ask, how was the campus when you left there? Because you are not there right now.
Ikwetu is, I can say, as an environmentalist, it seems that the weather is more clement than Oshobo. Mm-hmm. Maybe because we have a lot of hills and valleys. Mm-hmm. It was calm.
Okay. And then human activities here is
more. Yeah. More. We have more anthropogenic activities.
Vehicles are polluting the air, etc., etc. But you find green.
Green, yeah. There. It's more urban, more rural, and Oshobo is more urban.
Okay. We are going to talk environment. What is the environment?
So I think you touched a lot about that in your intro. The environment is man's natural habitat. That's our home. The word environment comes from French roots, which means surroundings. So generally, when we talk about the environment, we're talking about our surroundings. We could be surrounded by plants or animals when we talk in environmental. So that's the simplest, our surroundings. Our surroundings. Yes, sir.
What is the relationship between that and environmental education?
It's very important. One of the core disciplines, environment is a very multidisciplinary area. There are many areas that we touch. One of the core things that we talk about in environment education is human ecology. When we talk about ecology, that's man's interconnectedness with the environment. We are interrelated. The health of the environment is very important for our health. Our health is important for that of the surroundings we live in. So there is a symbiotic relationship between man and his environment.
Okay. Relating the two, the environment and sustainable development. because that's your field too.
Yeah.
How do you relate the environment with sustainable development?
I'm very happy with that question. Sustainable development, there are many scientific definitions, but one of the favorite for me is coined by a commission known as Brundtland, named after a group of scientists across the world who sat together about the 1970s and 1980. And the simplest way to explain that to a layman is man's consumption and meeting of our needs for today without jeopardizing the needs of tomorrow's generation. So when we talk about sustainable development as it concerns the environment, we're talking about using resources, both renewable and non-renewable, to meet our domestic, commercial needs without jeopardizing the interests of our future generation. So it is ingrained even in our indigenous knowledge to make sure that we as this generation leave something which we have inherited from our ancestors, and keep something for our children and our grandchildren. So that's another way to put the definition of sustainable development.
So it's symbiotic.
Yes, sir.
It moves from...
Yes, you inherited something, take good care of it, and make sure that you pass it to the next generation.
I hope and believe that viewers are listening, because this is very crucial. What are we leaving for the generations to come? Not just one generation, but many generations to come. Okay. I wanted this to be like, this first part to be like a seminar. What do we mean by climate smartness?
Wow. There is a tendency for people to think about anything that has smartness to relate to technology or digital solutions. People have confused it. But generally, we have experienced a lot of changes in our environment. The weather patterns are unpredictable. The climate has changed irreversibly. And these are things that have come post-industrial era. So when we talk about climate smartness, we're talking about what are the measures, approaches to ensure that we address, we mitigate, we adapt to all those things that we're talking about. The weather has changed. Farmers are expecting to start planting what time of the month, what time of the year. Okay, it doesn't work. So what do? For example, so you start to plant seeds that are adaptable to the new. So you have shorter rainfalls. That means you need to plant crops and seeds that germinate, complete their full life cycle, even if it is 40 days of rain that you have. So all these measures and strategies, whether it is scientifically or other measures to adapt to the changes that we have experienced in climate patterns and climate weathers, are what we call climate smartness. They could be behavioral, they could be technology solutions, they could be policies, they could be methodologies, strategies, development of new solutions. So this all can be put together in the bucket we call climate smartness.
Okay. So in essence, the environment and climate, there
is a handshake.
Okay.
Yeah.
More than a handshake, I think.
Yeah.
It's getting to the elbow.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. It's interesting to find somebody like you to lead us in. There is also this that I read, Sustainable Development Dialogue. Which areas does this cover?
Yes. Dialogues are very important. When we talk to each other, new ideas come, we interrogate old learnings, and we debunk old ways, old hypotheses, we refine what we know. So sustainable development dialogues are very, very important to continue to shaping what works for our times. Because what has worked for the pre-1960s is not applicable to 2026. We've grown in population, we have more needs, and we have more mouths to feed, The weather is unpredictable. We need more crops, more variety of needs. We have more use for things that, for example, eh, the principles of sustainable development, making sure that our environment, sociology, and economy balances that tripod, the triangle. We do not allow anyone to be heavy. The economic needs, the social needs, and the environment, they must always balance that triangle. None of it should be heavier. It shouldn't be a right angle. It shouldn't be an hypotenuse. It should always be a perfect triangle.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Right. Triangle. Okay. 60 degrees, 60 degrees,
Yes.
60 degrees up.
Yes.
Up there.
Yes.
In the year 2023, you were at a meeting organized by your university. It was on sustainable development dialogue here in Osun State.
Yeah.
What can you say the summit did bring about?
The Global Affairs and Sustainable Development Institute, which is where I had my master's and I'm currently enrolled as a PhD student, has some very interesting programs. And this summit and conference is one of those multidisciplinary areas. It's a conference where you have a presentation of papers, opportunity for doctoral students to refine their dissertations and theses. I presented a paper that I'm always very happy about. One of the key figures, I'm very, very impressed by Nobel Prize winners. I follow Alfred's way of giving back, Nobel Alfred's way of giving back to the society through the Nobel Prize winners. And incidentally, one of the only African woman that we have who is a Nobel Prize winner, Wangari Maathai, the Kenyan, won a Nobel Prize in environmental. And when I was trying to formulate what area would I concentrate on for my further studies, I was trying to find out what are other women or other examples of people doing these amazing things. Not just, we shouldn't be receivers of this scientific knowledge from the global north countries. What are we doing from the continent, from Africa, to contribute to these conversations? And I found very interesting conversations in Oshobo, even though this core figure, the late Aduni Olorisha, Susan Wegan, is one of my interest areas in research. She did amazing work with the Osun Shrine. That's a very excellent example of eco-spirituality. I've been working on how to make sure that the efforts she made is documented in academic research. So my presentation at that conference, at that summit, was on Aduni Olorisha.
So in essence, we are beginning to see the beginning of another Wangara.
Yes. Wangari, maybe not Wangari, maybe to inspire other people to become a Wangari Maathai.
Yeah. I mean, we are praying for you. That's it. You have started well. Yes, and that takes me to, you were a science student. Your basic first degree was in science. How did you switch over into environmental studies?
I taught chemistry and biology back then after NYC in Calabar. And I found that the most interesting part of my lesson note preparation for my students was those areas that had to do with conservation, those areas that had to do with ecology. And interestingly, that time, the former governor of Cross River State, Donald Duke, His Excellency, did a lot of amazing things for climate change issues in Cross River. It was a model state for Nigeria, not just about clean environment, but planting trees, restoration projects, how to make the Niger Delta a focal point for remediation activities. It was a very, very interesting time. I think even the current Assistant Secretary General, Aja Amina Mohammed, she was a Minister of Environment around that time, and she was the Office of the Millennium Development Goals. So I was looking at what are the things that I could enrich my lessons. In the process of my research, I find that, okay, you have to not just touch and leave. You have to be consistent and work on that. And that's how I ventured into environmental studies and environmental education.
And since then, there has been no regrets.
No looking back. No looking back, sir.
Mrs. Binta Moustapha is from which part of Nigeria?
I say this with all sense of pleasure. I'm a native of Osogbo, but I was born, bred, buttered, and sandwiched in Kaduna, Nigeria. So Kaduna is my second home, even though I'm a native of Osogbo.
Okay. Now, so far, I want you to assess the policies of our environmental sustainability. Are we getting it right? And if we are not, what are we supposed to do?
Wow. So thank you very much for that question. It's a loaded question, and I'll just try to abridge. We're doing some things right. We've started. Some states are doing amazing. There is a lot of things we haven't. We're supposed to. We're the cradle of environmental conservation. The conversations about climate change is now louder in the global north. But originally, our culture encourages all of us to. We had taboos and cultural practices that ensure that we safeguard it. We had forefathers who reserved parts of the forest with some myths and legends, which was deliberate to prevent people from destroying those forests. So those places were sacred. We had sacred groves. There is hardly a Yoruba community in those days that didn't have a sacred grove. Those places were like a bank. They were a bank for seeds, for trees, for species, which is the fact that is now scientifically being pursued by the global north countries. So we have to go back to those principles, because what the global north countries are preaching, we do not have the resources. We do not have the technical know-how. We are battling with a lot of first world problems: hunger, poverty, children in schools, housing, clinic, infrastructure. So we have scarce resources to address some of the issues that have cropped up in environmental conservation conversations. So if we want to address it, we need to go back to those principles which our forefathers preached. We need to revive those sacred groups that were available in almost all Yoruba communities, including the one that is currently in Osogbo. I'm happy that there are embassies such as the United States government that is and the UNESCO heritage, it has been come. So those are things that we need to multiply. We need to multiply those initiatives. We need to multiply those efforts. Reduce, reuse, repurpose.
As an environmentalist, yes, I want you to take your mind back to population explosion, development that has taken over Nigeria in the last 50 years. To what extent? I'm asking this question against the background of the bank, the forest bank you spoke of. Will Nigeria be watching land lie fallow while people are suffering from lack of habitation?
We won't watch, but there's a Yoruba proverb: "Oyibo to she pencil, no she eraser."
Yeah.
So in every challenge is an opportunity. And just we're not the only one facing this kind of population. India is one of China.
Yeah.
And to the surprise, when you talk about environmental sustainability innovations, the top country is China, not the US. When you talk about electric vehicles, batteries, climate solutions, climate research, the top countries, even though some of the ideas are incubated in top universities in the US, such as MIT and Harvard, but some of those scientists working are originally from Asian countries. So we need to look inwards and see, how do we address our growth? Without doubt, in every 5 black men, one is a black and we need place for everybody. But we have to, that's why it's a very interesting area. It is we need to use everything in our resources, our laws. What are the urban rules and regulations? What are the governance policies? So before anybody even starts a road construction, before anybody starts an estate, we have environmental impact assessments done on any project. What do we do with what the scientists come up with? What are those reports when they lie down? Who is taking accountability for ensuring that the recommendations in this environmental impact assessments are implemented? We have many options that can help us. So we have to use all the tools: legislation, policy, direction, sensitization, environmental sensitization, like what the Western Spring is doing this afternoon. This is a very, these are one of the behavioral opportunities to call to action for the things that we need to do.
Before we break up the show to come, because it's always in two parts, you, in your latest, the last comment you made reference to China and India. Yeah. These two countries are the largest in landmass. The African nation like Nigeria, fairly small, but has a large population. What can you speak to that?
Well,
that is why we are struggling.
We have similar demographics with these countries you've mentioned.
Yes, but in terms of largeness,
yes.
The entire country called Nigeria is just one state.
Yes. So there are policies about urbanization that we need to go to the drawing back and revisit. So upstairs, story buildings became an invention for space management. Yeah. So everybody needs to come on board: the architects, the designers, the construction workers, the urban planners, the local government, especially because they are the closest to the people. So when we earmark an area to become a market, to become a school, to become a hospital, what are the signs of urbanization that we can integrate to make sure that the space, because we have no second place, we have no planet B, we have no Nigeria B. No country is going to vacate their space and add to our country. So we need to, the one that we have been assigned and designated for us, we need to look again. There are ways to do, we have something we call in biodiversity conservation, in situ and ex situ. So we need to take those approaches into how we urbanize our cities. We need to look at those things. There are, for example, in China and India, there are policies that I cannot mention specifics as it concerns population and demographics, but they have made sure that even the educational institutions focus on all these problems. This is the problem we have. We want you as scientists, as architects, as archaeologists, as geologists, to focus on how we can address this problem. We have research grants if you have solutions for these problems. So there is an incentivization of addressing those problems. And when they do it and they notice that there are other countries that can use those solutions, they send it to us. We're one of the largest consumers of some of their solutions. So we need to put those strategies in our governance structures to make sure that there are incentives from academia, which is the constituency that I am representing, for example, here. The government needs to address those channels, call town hall meetings. How do we address it? What's our population? Where are the urban needs? Where are the places that there are houses that people are not using? How do we restructure, repurpose them to reuse them for other things, rather than going to a fallow land, which is meant for agricultural purpose, to start another dwellings and housing project? How can we repurpose those ones? So these are my suggestions.
Well, thank you very much. We are breaking up the show to come back. We have spent 25 minutes already. It's in two parts, as I said. When we come back, to the viewer at home, we have been in a very, very homely chat with a young woman who is proven to be one of an upcoming great environmentalist of our time. And I will prove this when we come into the second part. The number of international conferences she has attended, you see her, you think, oh, this little young woman. But that has been her luck and a privilege. We'll be back. And I have been talking to and with Mrs. Binta Moustapha, an environmentalist and a lecturer at the Department of Environmental Education, Osun State University.
It's been my pleasure, sir.
What's the name of the town where you are? Ikwetu.
Sir.
We'll be back.
It's a pleasure, sir.
Aminatu, the legendary Queen of Zazzau, is best known to historians as Queen Amina of Zaria, an old walled town and capital of the Hausa state of Zazzau. Amina was a great warrior and the first woman to rule the ancient kingdom of Zazzau. Her 34 years as queen witnessed an unprecedented expansion of Zazzau by conquests. Queen Amina of Zaria belongs to the class of Amazons by the might of her army and her strings of conquests. She opened Zaria to trans-border trade and was said to have initiated kola nut cultivation in the ancient kingdom. The Hausa Muslim figure was born in 1533 and died in 1610 at the age of 77 years. Folklores remember Aminatu, the Queen of Zazzau, as a brave, smart and talented leader, whose giant statue now adorns the National Arts Theatre in Lagos, Nigeria, while many educational institutions bear her name. Western Spring Television identifies Queen Amina as a watershed character in history. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was an educationist and advocate of women's rights. She was recognized for her vitriolic comments against colonial policy of taxation as it affected the Nigerian women. Bere, as fondly addressed by her women followers, Fumilayo championed the initiation of universal adult suffrage, which gave an unprecedented leeway for women to contest elective offices and power to exercise voting rights. Married to a foremost educationist and teacher, Israel Oladotun Ransom Kuti, the first president of Nigeria Union of Teachers, Fumilayo Ransom Kuti was the mother of children who inherited her spirit of activism. Olufela and Be Kololari, the former, a renowned musical legend. She was the first female student of Abeokuta Grammar School and the first female to own and drive a car in Nigeria. The award recipient of Member of Order of Nigeria MON and Lenin Peace Prize, was born on 25th October 1900 and was killed on 13th April 1978 by rampaging road soldiers in Lagos. Western Spring Television identifies Fumilayo Ransom Kuti as a watershed character in history.
Welcome back. Pertinent questions. In the studio and in the seat to answer questions is Mrs. Binta Moustapha, PhD holder, PhD student and a lecturer at the Department of Environmental Education, Osun State University. I want to devote this second part of our show to digging out one or two, three, many conferences you have attended And what I want to bring out is what you came for. What did you present to the government? In the year 2003, you were a participant at the Niamey in Niger. What was the thrust of that conference? It took place in Niamey.
Yeah.
What was the thrust of that conference?
Wow. That conference, thank you for that choice. I remember I had to shuttle between Abuja after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's election to Niamey immediately. It's an annual African regional forum for sustainable development. So every year they host it across the African. So in 2023 it was in Niamey. They've had it in Nairobi, Kenya, Uganda, Kampala, and those places. So that particular year there was a hackathon for climate innovation.
What is that?
It's a competition for young people. So the forum is there for all the commissioners and ministers and the UN agencies to do all the talking about what's the status of African countries as it concerns the 17 Sustainable Development Goals from Goal 1 to 17. But that particular had a side event, which was to host an innovation challenge for young people from the African continent to design climate solutions. And I'm happy that I was one of the facilitators at that session. Although we had participants from Nigeria, but most of them were from the northern part because it was closer. There was a funding gap to distribute the opportunities to other young people across the continent.
How did that funding gap come?
Well,
is it from government?
Well, it's not from government. It's the UN. The UN conference. The UN has a portfolio for some of this, but it's very difficult to qualify to participate in some of these activities. Yes, you have to have some very strong resume and evidence of yes.
Yeah. In the year 2023 or so, you were at Dubai as participant at the COP conference. Before then, in September of that same year, you were a volunteer at the 79th United Nations General Assembly, New York, both as participant and speaker. What was discussed at these meetings?
I work a lot with young people within the
younger
than mine, 35 and 35, 18 to 25, 18 to 35. I work a lot with them, at least in 2 countries in West Africa and more even. I work as a mentor, I work as a coach. I cascade what is discussed at all those levels to the lower, to the ground where the local action is really happening. And it was a very interesting conference in Dubai, and then in Dubai, I was an ambassador for a climate action project. We had plantings. Incidentally, where we have the war now in Iran, between there is a small 20,000 tree mangrove project in that river where we're talking about now that has been shut down between Iran and United Arab Emirates. Okay. Yes, they share the same water. So we had one project for it's called it's a restoration project, and the organization which sponsored me to participate were implementing, and I had to be there. So these conferences are very, very important. They're very important for capacity building. They're very important for networking. For some of us, especially who work at the local level, you need to be visible. You need to connect the dots between what's happening at that high profile level. Some of these meetings have presidents, ministers, and then the gap at the local level. We help them to connect that. Nigeria is not Abuja, Nigeria is not Lagos, the world is not New York, the world is not Brussels. So some of this treaties, these frameworks, these policies, they look very good in New York. They look very good when they are discussed at the UNGA, but the reality of how it can be implemented at the ground level, we call the attention to those things,
You participated at the African Regional Wealth Summit on the Information Society Annual Review. That was in Dar es Salaam,
Yes,
Tanzania. What was discussed there? And when you go for these conferences, what do you bring back?
Yes, at the Dar es Salaam in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, it was also another African regional. So there are focal persons like myself who work at the local. I work with a lot of not just young. I'm also a focal person for women in tech, and some of these action lines. There is a lot of emphasis on how can we digitalize some of these initiatives, some of these activities that we're doing. How can we integrate technology and tech solutions into whatever we're doing in any of the sustainable development goals, whether it is no poverty, whether it is gender equality, whether it is education, climate action, justice and peace. So how do we? So this review was a workshop. Actually, it was a workshop to assess and evaluate. It was like a monitoring and evaluation review at the African level. There were participants from all the countries in the on the African continent, 54, and our activities was to look at what has happened. So the WCs is another agenda, is another framework of initiatives going on in all the countries around the world that are part of the UN system. And so that event in Tanzania was an evaluation. We had to sit down and say, what have we done right? What are the gaps left? How do we ensure that government, non-governmental organizations, civil society, and the other institutions that are important, traditional institutions, and other sectors that are important in ensuring that to implement these principles, these policies, these action plans, there isn't a gap. How do we close the gap? So that was the objective. So what I bring back is, first, for myself as a person, a lot of capacity building, a lot of opportunities to get funding, to replicate some of the initiatives that we have done, because to even participate,
networking.
Yes, a lot of networking. It's very important. That's it. There's a difference between Zoom meetings on Microsoft Teams and in person. These are 3 days, 4 days. You're hosted together at the same venue and the same. So if you even have a project in Nigeria and it is not doing well, you can discuss with your counterpart in Gambia, in Senegal, in Dakar. What have you done well? How can we share lessons? What can we replicate? So it's a lot of networking to continue to replicate activities at the local level.
The 13th African Internet Governance Forum was held in Ethiopia, 2024. You attended.
Yes,
what has the internet got to do with our climate?
Very, very important. Very important. This is the 21st century. We're in a digital age, and there is a lot of digital transformation. In fact, one of the criteria to even get your project sponsored, whether as a government, is your visibility and presence online. So some of us in these countries, we're doing a lot that is not available digitally. We do not have digital footprints. It's plus and minus. The visibility with algorithms that we have now with all the AI, we're contributing more to climate change because we use more water, we use more data centers, we need more lights to power these stations and everything. But a lot of the solutions that we need to address problems in climate change and environment have backgrounds on the internet, they have background with networking and connectivity. So it's a symbiotic relationship. And so we have to be in those conversations. We're increasingly pressuring organizations like Microsoft, like Google, to ensure that the benefits that they are reaping from the more number of people that we have who are becoming online is plugged in back to addressing issues in climate change and environment. So as advocates for the environment and sustainability, we have to be in those rooms to hold them accountable, to make sure that as we're making progress with digitalization, digital transformation, do not aggravate climate issues. Make sure that they go pari passu.
What is climate justice? Climate denialism and the paleo conservation.
Okay.
I have read these things. Many people too might not have an idea of it. Explain them to us and their relatedness.
Yeah. So climate justice is a very important. It's one of the pillars on which sustainability holds. We in the global south countries, we're not the highest contributors to pollutions, to emissions, but we are the ones that are paying the highest prices for those pollutions because and unfortunately for us, there is a new conversation about going net zero, that we should make sure that we are developing countries. They have developed. We have what we say in the conversations in sustainability, kicking the ladder. There are dichotomies about they have gotten developed by using the ladder of using crude oil, brown economy to infrastructure development. And now that they have become developed countries, they want to kick the ladder and make sure that we find alternatives to become developed. If you want us to kick the ladder that got you there, then you need to support our economy. Most of us, for example, Nigeria is a oil-based, crude oil-based economy. If you say we should shut down our refineries, we should shut down the crude oil, then you need to support us to develop those other sectors, such as Dubai has been successful to do, United Arab Emirates. They've developed their tourism sectors, they've developed other sectors. So you need to support us to develop these other sectors to get to a point where we can close our eyes and shut down the rigs.
In Azerbaijan,
Yes,
2025,
yes,
in Germany,
yes, sir.
and in Norway,
Yes,
all in 1 year, you participated at those conferences. I keep on wondering, when you come back, don't you, either for the university or for government, do these reports, do you just keep them to yourself or to your sponsors?
There is no way to participate in those conferences without a formality to even document your experiences. So they get there at the UN level, and there is a way to disseminate it at the national level. Maybe the missing gap is maybe at the local level, for example, in Osun State. And then at the university, we have seminars at the Global Affairs and Sustainable Development Practice weekly, where some of us are called upon to share learning, to share topics on what we're working on. I have had opportunity to do some, maybe not all, and maybe there is need for more. There is need for more dissemination.
Yeah, apart from dissemination.
Yes.
I don't know. Isn't there any process for you to see the Federal Ministry of Environment and things like that? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah. So your question is very correct, very apt. We have constituencies at these conferences. So you are accountable to the constituency that you're representing. I represent the civil society and women. So you're accountable to those constituencies. If other constituencies need your report, then there has to be a handshake between those constituencies. Yes, sir.
Again, you were in for AI for Global Summit in Alexpo.
Yes, sir.
Switzerland.
Yes, sir.
I'm worried about all these things as a layman.
Yeah.
How can we have, and you are not alone, there are many Nigerians who are doing their best.
Yes, sir.
How do we profit from? I'm worried that Nigeria is not profiting. Osun State is not profiting. My local government is not profiting.
So we have the question is very apt, and it is one of the reasons why I'm happy that I've joined the university. The way to do this is still back to the school system. There is nothing we can do, we can change without integrating some of these learnings into our curriculum. There is a lot of we haven't benefited because there is a proverb, and okay, I'm going to use the Hausa proverb. I will hope that I can find an equivalent in Yoruba. Wanda ya riga ka bacci ya riga ka tashi, and to soon can you to, and how do I put it? The one that sleeps before you will wake up before you.
It's not always so.
Sometimes,
yes.
For example, technologically, these countries, unless there's a leapfrog, in the case, that's why I go back to the example of China. They're already ahead of us. To match and meet them, we need a lot of investment in education, in our curriculum, in vocational development centers, technical vocational at the secondary level. There are a lot of young Nigerians that are doing amazing, even out of the school system with some of these AI solutions. It's interesting that some of the talents we meet at these conferences are young Nigerians, young Africans. There is need for more. There is need for more. There is need for more. We need to tighten the gaps, funding. Yeah. And pull more people from other sectors into the education sector.
We are getting to the close. I just have one question more for you. That question is a very, very opposite one. It's the reality. The Iran versus US-Israel war in the Gulf, what negative impact is this likely to have on the world's environment?
A lot. A lot. The world spends a lot of money on weapons, missiles. The amount of money that is dedicated to fighting all those useless wars that deny us peace, disrupt lives, both nationally, internationally. The airspace was shut down, flights have been interrupted, people have had to stay back in countries where they are supposed to exit, lives have been disrupted. If we put those amount of money to addressing the issues we talk about in climate change, the world is going to become a better place. So we need to fight to ensure that these technologies, the expertise, the talent, the research that goes into funding and developing weapons, if we dedicated a fraction of it to addressing issues in other areas, pertinent areas, I'm happy that this session is a pertinent question. Pertinent areas of our life, climate, our environment, we wouldn't even get to the war in the first instance because some of this war are conflict over natural resources, conflict over war over crude oil, energy, waterways, and those things. If we dedicated those fractions, and we need more climate advocates to fight, to put out the data, to put out the statistics. For example, there's supposed to be an audit of these missiles that have been shot from Iran to all those other countries and put a figure on that amount. If we put a figure on that amount and sensitize and advocate and put pressure, like they say in the social media lingo, we need a way to make sure that those monies are redirected to core sectors, education, welfare, health, environment. There's too much money dedicated to weapons, to missiles, and war fighting.
It comes back to the ladder thing you spoke of a short while ago. I didn't know how you put it.
Yeah.
They have climbed up the ladder, and they are kicking the ladder.
Yeah, a famous scientist, a famous Asian, Southeast Asian professor developed that philosophy, kicking the ladder.
Okay. They will keep on kicking the ladder because they are interested. The Americans have something they call the American interest. The least thing you do, they will serve themselves, position themselves as policemen of the world. They begin to. You have gone to Caracas, but that's the way. Well, I want to appreciate your coming. I want to say categorically that I'm impressed by your performances so far, not only on this show, but what you have done and the way and manner you are making it in life to put Nigeria on a better pedestal when it comes to environmental matters, advocacy.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been a pleasure. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation and I look forward to more interactions.
Okay. Viewers at home, that has been the young woman who is making the country proud. She's a lecturer at the University, Osun State University, the Department of Environmental Education. She's an environmentalist who has been at so many fora discussing environment. You never can say the country may be preparing herself for, what do you call that?
Conference of Parties.
No, that lady.
Wangari
Matai. Another Wangari Matai in the making. That will be some years to come.
It's an honor, sir.
Mrs. Binta Moustapha. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much,
We
sir.
are in Ramadan, but is it permitted to shake?
Why not, sir?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
God bless you. We see you more.
God bless you too, sir.
It's proud to know that you are from Osogbo and, for that matter, from Osun State.
Thank you, sir.
So the next, what do you call it, Nobel Prize winner in some years to come will
come from this town.
Osun.
Yes, sir.
Okay. God bless you.
Same to you too, sir.
Thank you very much. That's been our program. I'm Adeto Isheshitu Alamoy. Thank you very much for being there. Next week, we will bring you another personality. Most likely to be a man, not a woman. Goodbye for now. Thank you.